Buenas, buenas, buenas. I'm Vanessa, the host of Chick Lit, a podcast where we unlock the power of stories by reading about other people's lives in order to learn about ourselves. Each episode, I'll explore popular Chick Lit themes and use them as a starting point for insightful conversations, except for today's episode. Today's episode is the 1 year anniversary of Chick Lit. Happy birthday to Chick Lit! Woo! So I'm not going to be doing a book review. I'm just going to be talking freely about myself and what the past year has been like podcasting. I want to take this opportunity to thank every single person who listens to the podcast, texts me their thoughts, shares my podcast with other people, is subscribed on YouTube, has left a review. I have 11 reviews on Spotify. I have 5 stars on Spotify. Like, that's so dope. I'm still trying to work on getting on Apple Podcasts, but it's so glitchy and it won't let me upload. But hopefully in 2024 I'll be able to figure it out because it's literally giving me a headache. Like, I hate that. But yeah, in no particular order, I just like literally typed out just people that have helped out with the podcast. Jose Daniel, thank you for always listening to the podcast. I know you listen to it when you're driving, and I love that. And you always like tell me your thoughts, and I feel like this podcast has brought us closer together. I know, like, as kids we were one of 15, 20 kids hanging out, like all the cousins, and I feel like through this podcast we've gotten closer. And I'm going to be going to visit you in your city very soon, and I can't wait. Like, that's going to be so nice that we're hanging out, like, just because we want to hang out. I love that. I also want to shout out my cousin Carrie. Thank you for always listening and telling me your thoughts. And I know you've said sorry that you don't listen enough. I don't care, girl. Like, you have listened to a few of my episodes and you text me your thoughts, and you've, made me feel really confident about it, like, specifically because you are my cousin. Like, if anyone's gonna not in a bad way, but if anyone is gonna be able to tell me the negative stuff, it would be you, or like one of the cousins. And so you've only said positive things, and I love that. Thank you. Like, you make me feel like I'm doing something right, obviously. So I appreciate you. I also want to shout out Jane. Jane is always down to help me out with, she's jumped on phone calls. She was going to come, I'm doing a photo shoot tomorrow, and she was going to come help out with the photo shoot if I needed her help. She's always down to like give me feedback, a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I need assistance with. Jane is always down to help. So I appreciate you. Like, if anything, you're someone that I check in with to confirm or deny, like, that I'm crazy or that I'm doing something right or I'm doing something wrong. So I feel like everyone always needs that person to, like, give that feedback off of, and you're the person that does that for me. So I appreciate it. Also, Tanya is, if you see me with makeup and jewelry and having my hair done, like, I remember specifically, I think it was like September or October, she was like, girl, you look like a librarian. She's like, you don't need to look like a librarian. Like, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, like, you're hot, you're sexy. Like, why are you looking like a librarian on the internet? And it's just so true. So her thinking that and telling me that gave that to me. Like, she gifted that view to me. And so that's why I, specifically on like social media and through the podcast, I always try to look nice. I know in my daily YouTube videos I didn't look nice, but that was like raw, and I was going for a different vibe. And again, you live and you learn type thing, and I was giving that a shot. And I feel like the more polished look is really what we're going for, and that's like Tanya. Like, Tanya gave that perspective to me, so that's why I do that now. So shout out to you, Tanya. I also want to shout out Megan C and Megan S. I'll shout you both out because you have the same name. But Megan C is always super, super helpful. Life with Megan B on Instagram is her name. Just always helping me out. Always, specifically with writing, you're so good at communicating. And, if I say, oh, I hate this bitch, like, Megan is the person that's going to translate it to say, like, oh, they're not my cup of tea, or something like that. Like, she's always good at rewording what I actually say and leaving out the unnecessary, maybe harsher stuff, and putting in necessary positive, like, spins on it. Like, and I feel like you do that in your own personal life as well, and it's such a good skill. And I know we've talked about this so many times. It's like, I give you the hardness that you need, and then you give me the softness. And so I feel like I love our relationship and what we have going, and it positively impacts, obviously me, but Chick Lit, the podcast. So I want to make sure I shout you out for that. Priscilla and Andrea and Chris R. I appreciate you guys for always listening. Kate G. I for like privacy purposes, like I don't want to tell everyone like all of your information and like how I know you exactly. But I want to shout you guys out for listening to my podcast, whether it's every single week or once a month or once every few months. Like, you guys have all always listened, and you filled out the survey, and you've given me feedback. And even Ron from Jersey City, like, you have listened and you've given me feedback, and you wanted to do an episode, which I'm still down. Like, if I've listed your name, you're invited to be on the podcast. So let me know. I also want to shout out my Aunt Olga, my Aunt Elsie, and my Uncle Juan. And my Aunt Alba I've talked to too, but she lives in Colombia, so it's like a little, she's not as super involved as like my other aunts and uncles. You guys, like, you don't judge me, and it's a very interesting dynamic, because all of my aunts and uncles, they came from Colombia, they came to the United States, and they all worked so hard, working several jobs. Everyone worked over 40 hours a week, or if they only worked 40 hours a week, it was because they had kids at home and couldn't work more than 40 hours a week. And their lifestyle and the way that they raised all of us and the cousins, that is their lifestyle, right? Like, that is the way that they lived. And for me to do it how I am now, where I'm not getting an income, like, all of my aunts and uncles are like, girl, like, you're not making money? Like, what are you doing? And it's a concern. They're worried. They're not judging. They're not speaking negativity into my life. Absolutely not. It all comes from a place of, like, girl, we want to make sure that you're financially secure, because you're going to have to retire one day. And if you don't have enough money, you can't retire. And, like, all of them are retired, chilling, living their own lives. Like, my uncle works, but it's more so just to have something to do. And it's like, I appreciate their support, I appreciate their concern, and I appreciate their openness. I hear so many people who have, moved to another state, or changed careers, or maybe like the person that they're with, or having kids. There's a lot of families who are not supportive of their like family members, and I don't have that. Like, I'm so lucky that all of the people that I'm close to have never, like, all of my family members, they've never ever once judged me and like told me, no, you can't do it. Like, when you hear, there are certain like famous people or millionaires or billionaires, they're like, oh yeah, like, they told me I couldn't do it. Like, that's not part of my story. I cannot say that that's part of my story, because it's not. I have only had supportive people. My aunt and my uncle, they let me live at their house in their basement, which was like a whole apartment, and I paid such little rent. Like, that is support. That's like financial support. Like, I know that I did pay them money, but I didn't pay them a lot. And like, they fed me. They still to this day feed me, specifically because they know I don't make money. Like, if I want to eat, and if I don't have any food at my mom's house for whatever reason, she's busy, the girls are away, my mom goes to the beach or something, like, if I don't have food, my aunt, I know that I can go to my aunt's house. Like, todavía me da pena. Like, it's a little like embarrassing. Like, damn, bitch, I'm 32 and I can't like feed myself. But like, my aunts, both of my aunts will always have their kitchen open to me. And so that is also super helpful as well. Like, literally financial support by letting me live with them. They feed me every single time I go to their house. They never ever judge me and are super supportive. I know that they're concerned, but they believe in me, and they know that I'm a really smart person and that I'm going to be able to figure it out. Now, if they looked at my finances right now, they would not approve and probably freak out a little bit, but that's why we just don't tell them, girl. It's on a need to know basis. You're not paying the bill, so you don't need to know. So I'm just very fortunate that I have like both my aunts and my uncle, and obviously my mom, but we'll save the best for last. I am obviously gonna thank my boyfriend as well. I think that if it weren't for him, I think that I would still be a teacher, and I would still Like the first time that I left my first job, when I left Patterson, I had just started dating him. So I think that he kind of saw how amazing I was and kind of spoke that into me and made me see that and made me feel that way. And I think that he gave me just like the boost. Obviously, it was me. I did it myself. I graduated myself. I found the job. I went on the interview. Like, I did those things. I'm not minimizing the way that I obviously positively impact my own life. No. But I think that he was like the icing on the cake. Like, had I not had that last little step, I think that I would have stayed there and I would have continued to be arguing with my administration, with my coworkers as well, because a lot of them were Trump supporters, and that's crazy as fuck to me when you're hanging out with like black and brown kids all day, but I digress. Anyways, the point is that I think my boyfriend, when I first left that first job, he was like the icing on the cake. Then I went to the second school, and that was obviously really difficult. It was better, but it was still very difficult. And so when I went to that third school, he helped me a lot with like interviewing and stuff. And I was really sure that this third school was going to be different because the questions that I asked them and how empowered I felt, and I felt so secure in my expertise as an anti-racist educator that I really felt like this third school, I was like, this is going to be it. And then we went, and literally less than a week in, everything that they told me was a lie. Like, literally every single thing. They told me, I was doing self-contained for 12 students, and we had students who had been admitted into like a mental health institution because they brought weapons to school and tried to like stab other students. So automatically you have to report that, and then you have to go for a stay in the mental health institution. And then there was another student who was extremely bright, so smart, but had oppositional defiance disorder, and so they were extremely violent. They were so smart they could do anything, but they would do it and get it done and then be really violent because they didn't want to listen to me. And, they were struggling. And I'm not complaining about the student at all. I'm just adding color to get to a point, because then on like that side of the spectrum, it was like the violent kid, the really smart kid. There was another kid who was nonverbal, and he was on like a first or second grade reading level, while the other kids were on like 6th, 7th, 8th grade reading level. So it was such a wide range with 12 students, which in the state of New Jersey, it's one adult per 12 students. And I had an aide with me, but aides get paid like $20K a year. Like, you can't, like, legally, you can't leave the class with them. And like, they can't educate and teach the students. They are just like a body to take them to the bathroom or redirect them or read something to them. They're a support for the student, but they're not a replacement for me, for the educator. And I was told that there would be an administrator who their purpose was to support the 3 self-contained classrooms. Well, that was inaccurate, because that administrator was one day the art substitute, the next day the gym substitute, the next day the kindergarten substitute. So I never had support. Like, I never had a teacher, an educator's support. And then we also had other aides, but then one aide got taken and put into another class because they needed an aide in another class. So it's like, because aides got paid so little, there was a shortage of them, and they're also not educators or administration. So there was no like high level support. It was like low level support. Not to diminish what aides do, not at all. Again, providing color. And so they lied to me, and I was so distraught. I felt defeated. Like, the first school, the second school, the third school, I was so disappointed. I was so discouraged. And I told my boyfriend, I think I was driving home or I was driving to school, and we were talking on the phone. And so I told my boyfriend, and I was like, I'm so pissed that I woke up today. Like, I wish that I would just go to sleep and die in my sleep and not wake up. I don't want to go to school. And he was like, quit your job. He was like, it doesn't matter. Anything we'll figure out. Money doesn't matter. Like, where we live doesn't matter, because I think what happened was that I was living at my mom's house or something. This is what happened. Our lease was up, I think, in April or May. I think it was May. Our lease was up in May, and he moved to Texas for the summer. So in September, I think that he was in New Jersey for like a week or something. And so we were looking for apartments, and he was like, who cares about where we live? We'll live at your mom's house until you find another job. And then after we'll figure it out. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, quit your job. And it ended up working out because with his business, I believe during that like couple months, like he had a pay cut and there were a couple paychecks that he didn't receive. So he also was struggling financially too. So we were like, fuck it, like I guess we're living at my mom's house, so I quit. I just quit my job. And so again, he added that reassurance. I knew that no matter what, we would figure it out together. And that much safety allows you to do a podcast. You know, if I could go through that, if I can go through going to school for 6 years, paying $100,000 for that degree, investing in all of these students, doing my best, learning to be an anti-racist teacher, connecting with the communities that I work in, like if I could do that, be so entrenched, is that the word? If being so into teaching and I can get through that and I can leave that, then I can do this podcast. And he gave me that. You know what I'm saying? And so I just want to, like, I just really want to shout him out that he is always the person who's, like, pushing me. Like, I get myself and I do what I need to do, obviously. Again, not being like Simone Biles. Like, we know how she was like, oh, yeah, I get why he didn't know that I was, like, the world's best gymnast ever on the face of this earth. Like, I get it. Like, no, bitch, I'm not saying that. I know I'm dope. I'm not saying that at all. But he is always, like, my cheerleader. He's always the person pushing me. And so I just want to shout him out for that. I appreciate that. I love you. Thank you. Thank you for being part of my family. And then I also want to shout out my mom too, because when my mom is like very, I talked about this in Cultura Cash, that episode. My mom is very action driven. Like, she's not gonna hug me. She's not gonna tell me that she loves me. She's not gonna, like, cuddle with me. She's not gonna spend time with me. But she's very action driven. And so the biggest thing that she has done financially for me is she pays my student loans. Like, that alone, if I had to pay my student loans, which are $1,000 a month, I would not be doing this podcast. If I had to pay, because I did, for the first, I think it was like 4 or 5 years. No, it must have been 4 years. Doesn't matter. Just at some point, I've been paying my student loans $1,000 a month for several years, and then eventually my mom took on those payments. And if I had to pay that, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. Doesn't matter what my boyfriend says. Doesn't matter about living expenses. Doesn't matter about teaching. Nothing. Like, I would not have been able to leave teaching if I had to pay those $1,000 a month. So shout out to my mom for that. Like, just that. And there's, like, a laundry list of other ways that she has supported me as well. Financially and emotionally, housing. Like, she has supported me tremendously, where none of this would be possible without her. Like, and I feel like I'm writing a book, and I've lightly talked about it several times, and it's like, her parents were such positive forces in their community, and my mom is the same way. Like, my grandmother was a safe haven for people in their city. Like, people would go to her house just to talk to her for, like, advice. Like, she wasn't a therapist, but she wasn't judgmental. She was always very open and always very positive, and obviously people like that. And so my mom is very similar in that way. I'm not sure how many people, like, will vent to my mom, but if my mom is driving down the road and she sees someone that she doesn't recognize, and she's like, hey, like, do you need a ride? And they'll be like, oh, I don't know where I'm going. I just got here from Colombia last week. She'll be like, oh, don't worry. How old is your son? I'll get him a jacket. I'll get him toys. Does he need sneakers? Let's go. And my mom will, like, go drive around to all her friends in town, like, all people that she has helped in the past. She'll be like, oh, hey, do you have anything to give this lady? Or she'll tell, like, me, like, oh, this lady, she's kind of like your size. Do you have any bras? Because she doesn't have bras. But the point is that my mom is super supportive and super positive in other people's lives, that it's like, it's passing down. And I feel like that's what I'm doing with this podcast. I feel like with the podcast, I feel like I am doing my own version of what my grandmother did. I'm doing my own version of what my mom did. I'm doing it in this 2024 way, is through a podcast telling women in their 30s-ish, like, you can do it. Like, it's gonna be fucking hard, but bitch, like, if you can do all the things that you've already done, like, you can do more hard shit. Like, one day it'll be easy, but until then, bitch, like, we gotta ponerse las pilas and do it. You know what I'm saying? So just shout out to my mom for just giving me my personality and letting me live in her house whenever I want. I'm pretty sure she's gonna ask me for rent, but I'm not bringing it up, girl. Like, if she wants me to pay rent, like, I will, but I'm not bringing it up to her. So, and I feel bad because, again, she's always worked and she had, she put, like, I think at one point she was putting half of her salary into a pension. And then here I am not making money. And obviously, it's concerning to them. It's concerning to me, bitch. Like, it's concerning to all of us. But just shout out to her for like not judging me, letting me live here, letting me live my life. No matter how hard she has to bite her tongue physically, I'm sure she has bite marks on her tongue from stopping herself from telling me how, scared she is. But shout out to her for her like unwavering, unconditional, nonstop, every single day support. Love that. Now let's get into the podcast a little bit. So when I first started doing the podcast, the first episode was on my phone. And that was when I was working at the utility company and I just needed a couple minute break because I had been working and I was just like, oh my God, like I'm so tired of like sitting at the screen. So I actually went into an empty office and I just hit record on my phone and clicked post on my phone and just posted like an unedited raw clip of me talking about therapy. I do suggest that you listen to that because there's nothing new to add there. Like everything that I know about therapy like is in that episode if you want to learn how to locate a therapist, how to use your insurance, how to find someone that is inclusive or whatever it is that you need. I do suggest listening to that. But if you listen to that episode and then you listen to this episode, like look at this. Like I have a background, I have my makeup done. You could actually see me. I have a video now. Like the first few episodes, I don't think I had video. I've progressed so much to go from my phone to now on my computer and my phone using it for Instagram. I have 2 mics. I need to get a camera, but we balling on a budget out here, so wait on that. And yeah, so after using my phone, and then I did GarageBand. And GarageBand is where you record just audio. And what I didn't like about that was that you just see the sound waves. So it's like there's a sound wave, but then when there's a pause, it's straight. And then when you talk again, it's sound waves again. So that was really hard to edit because you had to pause it when you thought it was, clip it, and if you were wrong, you had to click undo and then start all over again. Like, it was very, very hard. So if you listen to the first few episodes, there's a lot of likes and and it just did not sound good at all. Like, my boyfriend even told me, he was like, there's too many likes and I can't listen to it, so you have to do better. And I was like, fuck, thank you for telling me that. Obviously shitty, it doesn't feel good, but thank you for telling me because that's what got me to use what I use now, which is Descript, and that's how I do everything. To make social media clips, like I'll leave it vertical, I think it's called. Yeah, no, I'll leave it horizontal, and then I'll go into CapCut and paste it and make it blurry to be the top and the bottom, and the middle one is the one that's visible. So I'm using Descript for like everything because that one is not just the sound waves, it also transcribes everything that you're saying into words. So when you are deleting things, if there's a pause or you say like or you can just highlight the word and click delete and it'll delete it from the audio and the video at the same time, and it's just edited. So it's super user friendly. The one thing that I will say is that they're always trying to make it better, which is like a good thing, but it's like annoying because like on Monday you'll do something and then on Wednesday when you go back, like that feature's not there because it's constantly getting updated and it's like very buggy and they're still figuring it out. So whatever, I understand, I get it, I love it. It's pretty cheap. I think it was $140 for the year. It works for me. If you have another like thing that you use like and you think is better, let me know and I will do the free sample and I'll decide for myself if I like it because I like Descript. No hard complaints there. Light complaints only. Another thing that has been happening in the past year is I know for a fact I've become a better speaker, specifically Chris from the Latina organization. He has told me, he's like, you sound very different. Like the way that you communicate is very different Like if you are working on how you sound, specifically if you want to go on interviews or maybe you want to start your own podcast or maybe you're struggling with communication with a partner, I would suggest recording yourself on your phone on like the notes, not the notes app. It's like the voice note app that's like embedded in everyone's iPhone. Just listen, record yourself for 5 minutes every single day, and then at the night, listen to it. Take a pause. Like you can't record and then listen. You're not going to really like learn there. But if you just listen to yourself every single day, I'm not joking, after 7, 10, 14 days, you will literally be like, you'll notice and notice and notice and notice that maybe you're saying too much or like too much or I don't know or you know. Those are the things that I say. So if you do that and you just record, after so many times, so many days in a row of noticing, after a while, you get better at it. Like now when I edit these, I'm not editing likes. I really don't say like as much anymore. I don't say as much anymore. I don't say as much anymore. I really don't. I still do because I think that they're valuable in conversation and in podcasting. I still do think that it's valuable because it's a placeholder. You're pausing, you're giving people an opportunity to digest what you said, comprehend it, process it, and you're giving yourself a moment to move on to the next thing as well. So I'm not shitting on those words. I still use them. You'll still hear them in the podcast. But some people, like, for example, I recorded an episode with someone a couple weeks ago, and editing it, you can tell that they don't podcast. Because they were saying, I'm not joking, I have one paragraph where they said it like 6 times. Like one little paragraph, like 5 lines, every single line had And it's because they're not paying attention to their words, which is fine. Again, not judging them, but the point is like I podcast and I pay attention to it and the way that I communicate has gotten a lot better. So not a brag, it's me sharing that with you so that you can also do it yourself. Like you can do it. You have the voice note app. Do it if you go for a walk or waiting in line somewhere. I don't know. Anything. Like if that's something that you want to do, I would suggest doing that. And then more things that I've learned through the podcast in the past year. I feel like it's giving me like a sense of purpose and ownership and responsibility. It's my own thing. With teaching, I was doing this for the students. I was communicating and reporting to admin. Admin would tell me things and I had to listen to what they were saying. Like it was still me, but I still had to make sure I was looking at admin's checklist and checking things off their list. I still had to be mindful of the students and check things off for them, which is great. Not complaining. But with the podcast, it's all for me and it's all for the podcast. It's 100% everything that I want. For example, there's a book that I want to do. Body Keeps the Score. I don't know the guy's name, but someone let me know that the author was bullying people or he mistreated women. I have not looked into it, and it's up to me if I want to use that book. If I want to read that book and want to do several episodes on it, because that was my intention, I wanted to do 3 episodes on it. If I want to do that, I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's my podcast. I'm doing it because I want to. I'm doing it because I think the audience is going to like it. Or I might decide not to do it because once I look into what he's done, what the accusations were, everything, once I look more into it and I make the decision myself, again, that's me making that decision. That's very empowering that I am the boss. I'm the one and only person that gets to decide that. And so with that comes the confidence. You feel more secure in who you are. And like I was saying earlier, yes, I'll bounce things off of Jane or my friend Karina or Megan. Like, yeah, I for sure have conversations with them and I value their opinion. But if they tell me no, don't do it, and I still want to do it, I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying? It gives you that sense of like bossness, like badassness, like it's your own thing. And it's dope. It's amazing. And I also have learned, like, thankfully, AI has come out during the time that I'm doing this podcast, because I feel like I have always used Google in the way that you're supposed to use AI. Like with Google, you have to hope that someone has Googled the question that you're asking before. And that's like hard, right? Specifically when there are certain prompts or certain things that I want to write. It's like, how do you say this professionally? You have to go to someone's blog post and read their blog post and look at their examples, and maybe that blog post didn't help, so you have to look at another blog post. Like with AI, I literally tell it, here's the first draft of an email that I want to send someone, reword it to be professional and light. Enter. It'll tell me. It'll be like, sure, here's how you say it professionally and light. And so I'll copy that and use that to make the final draft, because what it sends me, I'm not copying and pasting, but it'll take what I said and it'll translate it to a professional thing. And then I can copy it, change my voice. Maybe it didn't use a comma. Maybe it used a really big word that I probably wouldn't use. So I'm not going to use that word. I still want it to be true to myself. But the point is, like, thank God that I use AI, because I use it for the descriptions of the episodes. That's really it. The descriptions of the episodes and when emailing people. And it's amazing. So if you don't use AI, just use it. I use Bard, B-A-R-D. It's Google's AI system. You can use ChatGPT. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. Just use one of them. And I know other people like disagree because of like the environment, or it's taking people's jobs. Personally, I don't use it in that way. I use it to make my life easier. It's almost like, you know how people don't want to get a cleaning lady because they feel so bad and they should be able to clean their own home. Like, you're not paying that cleaning lady to clean your house. You're paying that cleaning lady to give you time so that you can spend your time elsewhere, so that you don't have to spend every single Saturday morning cleaning. Like, you're hiring someone to come do it on a Friday night while you're out with your friends, so that on Saturday you can wake up and go to the beach with your family. Or you can sleep in. Maybe on Friday you're getting fucked up and you don't want to do anything on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I see AI. AI is giving you your time back on little things that don't really matter, like the description, because I don't really, like, how many people are reading the description? Probably not many. Am I using it to steal other people's work or pretend like I'm writing this work? Like, no. It's just making my life easier. So it's like outsourcing shit that you don't want to do, like editing with social media clips. There are people who pay, have someone that works part-time for them, who will make an episode into clips. There's even AI to do that, which I have not used AI. I kind of want to make it my own way. I don't want it to be a computer way, so I won't use AI, but use AI however the fuck you want. Make your life easier, because we're not out here being predators with it. Like, if you're listening to this, you're not using AI to be a predator, so relax. You're not scamming anyone. Like, I know, because you're a normal person, so relax. Seriously. It's, like, not that serious. Let's talk about my favorite episodes in the past year. I would say that anytime that I've had a guest on, it's my favorite episode. Like, when I had Melissa on, Megan, I had Jane, Megan, and Megan on, I had Marbs on. I'm going to record with my friend Priscilla today, and that'll be posted on July 15th, talking about the Rachel incident. And so all of those are my favorite episodes. I love my friends. They give me so much joy and so much happiness, and I'm so proud of all of them for so many different reasons. But the common theme is that all of them are trying their best to be happy. All of them. And I love that. So all of those episodes, I'm just very happy to have such beautiful, kind, amazing people in my life. Another episode that I really like is Cultura Cash, because it talks about our like community, and it's empowering, and I also know the author. Like, that's pretty cool. I don't know her personally. I have her on Instagram, but like, she'll reply to me and very lightly we'll respond to each other, mostly because I don't want to like stalk her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to leave her alone. But the point is that like, I know the author and I love the book, and it's about finances, which are super important. So I love that episode as well. And so, you know, Cultura and Cash episode, the female orgasm episode, Quit Like a Woman, all of like those books are all about like self-help and empowering for women, or they're inclusive of, or sex talks as well, like they're inclusive of other people's experiences. It's not just rich white guys, like it's not their target audience. Like, I really like that all these books are like very empowering to women and self-help books in a really nice way. So those episodes are also my favorite. My nieces just came in and they gave me slime. I don't know if you can hear that, but look at that. Oh, so fun. So definitely have to play with that, but not right now. But some things that I'm looking forward to are having commercials and ads in my episodes. I'm looking forward to having that and making those partnerships and making money through that. You know, I that's definitely a goal of mine in 2024 is to make, I'm not expecting to make $100,000 this year, but I want to get a $500 paycheck, you know, even if it's just once. Like, I want to make money off of the podcast. 2025, like, that is my goal, is to make enough money that I am living off of the podcast. And I do think that that's possible. It's just a matter of me leveling up and continuing it on, because I've already proven to myself and to anyone who's looking at the podcast that I'm disciplined enough to create the content. Like, I am in the groove of reading and creating it and editing it and posting it every single week. And I'm just going to 2 times a week just to make sure that it aligns with what the audience wants. I'm also looking forward to how the podcast is going to change. You know, it's been a year of it, 6 months into 2024, and I know that in December it's going to be extremely different. I know that in 6 months it's going to be very different than what it has been. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the changes and how it evolves and how it gets better and all the good shit that's coming, because it's going to. There's no way that it won't, because I am giving it so much. Like, it's going to. It's just a matter of when and how. Like, I don't know if you've seen those memes where it's like what I want, and it's like one rose, and then like the plan that God has for me, and it's like a bouquet of flowers. So it's like one versus like a bunch. Like, my version is I have a big ass bouquet of flowers. Like, this shit is coming. And it's like, what is gonna come? It's either gonna be exactly what I want, or it's gonna be even bigger. Like, because there's no way it's gonna be less. There's just no way. I won't allow it. The next episode will be on the Rachel incident with my friend Priscilla. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and leave a review. New episodes are uploaded every other Monday. You can also follow me on social media at Chick Lit Podcast. And remember, if you have any book recommendations or want to be on the podcast, just let me know. Thank you for listening. Bye.